Hello, 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 Facebook world. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Anyway, I'm so excited today, like right now. I'm with an amazing lady. And if you are a person who is actually doing um, you're using social media or digital marketing for your business, I think you want to listen to this, especially if you're the one who gets like, you've been doing all the trends, all the things that's you're supposed to be doing online, but it doesn't speak to you. And if it doesn't really like move the needle for your business, I think there's a better way. And today, I'm so honored to actually be sitting down with an amazing lady. She's not only amazing with what she does online, but she actually teaches like digital marketing campaigns in real school. So I haven't really met I seldom meet people who are like doing this outside of the online world and teaching it in a real school. Is it? Yeah, there and then teaching others also here. Um, she's marrying it with something very, very wonderful. So my guest actually is Michelle Chen. She's a certified Okay, Michelle, you have to actually um correct me if I say this right. Akashic Records healer and human design empowerment guide, and who is passionate about showing up in your business from a place of purpose and authenticity. She is a firm believer of working with who you are as a unique being, and rather than following some cookie cutter strategies and broad stroke marketing trends. Just like he said, do you really have to dance your way to be able to be getting your business going online? I can't dance. I have 2 feet. Two left feet. Anyway, she will be talking about human design and the Akashic records and how the combination of both can help entrepreneurs make massive shifts in the way they do business. So without further ado, I want to welcome you guys. But before that, if you're gonna watch this live, if you're watching live, please put hashtag live or say hello so we know who you are, where you're from. We want to know who you are. And it's social media, just like my friend Bettina says, be social. And if you're watching this on replay, please put hashtag replay and put any questions you have, any takeaways, put it also in the comments. So please help me welcome Michelle. Hello, Michelle. Where are you now? Hi.
Hi. So excited to be here.
I'm excited for you to be here. I think we've been planning this for a while. And because of
Wow, yeah.
my, yeah, for a while. And thanks, I just want to give a shout out to Ritz. Because of Ritz, I actually saw you in one of our interviews. And it just blew my mind. Because as I said in that interview, my mentor has just like kind of like introduced me to human design, and I was like, and then there's this lady who was like talking about the same thing that my mentor was talking about, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's why I was so engaging in that interview. But anyway, before anything else, Michelle, I know I read your little introduction, but please tell us something about you that I haven't included in there.
Yes, and so thank you so much for having me here. And I love all these connections, right? And all this like women and men bringing everybody together. These connections is just really awesome. So who am I? Well, I would say I am somewhat of a rebel. I follow the beat of a different drum. I dance to my own music. I create my own way and my own path. Sometimes when people ask me to define what I do, it's kind of hard because I feel like I don't fit into defined labels, boxes, or expectations, right? I have a PhD and I teach at a college level, teaching digital marketing, campaigns, and social media. And so there's a part of me who is like a marketing educator, right? And a business comm educator. And then there's another part of me that's more spiritual, right? And a certified, and you pronounced it correctly, Akashic Records and human design analyst. And so there's all these different parts of me. And I think the fun thing about, being in having your own business or being an entrepreneur is that you can show up and bring all the different parts of, of yourself together, right? All the different aspects and the training, the skills. And so I draw from all my training, skills, expertise to kind of empower women in living their true, authentic self and to help them embrace the core of who they are so that they can live a life full of passion and purpose and to do it in a way that is pleasurable and to make a profit out of it as well. So I consider this sort of a mission of mine, but I have a lot of missions. But I think one of the biggest one is to really show and teach the world, especially women, that our uniqueness, our story, our experiences, and the different layers of who we are, they're not something that we need to hide from, be silent about, be shameful of, but instead, this uniqueness and our authenticity can be our spark, our magic, and kind of our superpower that sustain us all the way up that mountain top of success, however that or whatever that looks like for you.
That is actually pretty amazing. And I love how you kind of like say it and put it together. That is kind of freeing for women and even
Yes.
men.
Yes.
Do
Yes.
you also work with men?
Um, Well, most of my clients are women. Let's just say, yeah, most of my clients are women. Are women.
There you go. Um, yeah, like this is kind of like beautiful, magical because we wanted everything to be at ease. And but before anything else, it's as you said, you're a rebel. It's like you can't be put into a box, right? What started your journey into this like mission of yours, like different mission of yours, because it's like multidimensional. What is your big why?
Yeah, that's a really good question because, as I was reflecting, on just this question, right, of like what started, what's your journey? I feel like it is not just one thing that started it. There were like many things along the way that kind of, which is usually the case, that shape who we are, right? But I think the core of it really started when I was little, growing up in a culture that, where I learned that to be accepted is to conform, is to follow the rules, follow all the expectations set out for you. And so there were a lot of spoken and unspoken rules and practices that, I learned that sort of like, and I feel like keep us, men and women, in our place. It teach us the role um, in society, and how we should fulfill that role, what is considered valuable, what is considered worthy, and what isn't. And so I think of any society, it's very much similar to the one that I grew up in, where a person's value is really based on their productivity, how much money they make, that in order to succeed, we have to work hard all the time. They're very specific and defined paths to success. We should kind of like follow them, right, to be successful. So you mentioned earlier, like, showing up on social media all the time, dancing on TikTok, right? We learned that, oh, this is one way that we can do it, to dance on TikTok, to get more followers, right? And so lots of people gravitate towards that. And I feel like society celebrates that, right? Society celebrates people who kind of color within the lines, to kind of fit within neatly the little boxes, right? And and on the flip side, if you are kind of different from the norm, one of the biggest messages I feel like all of us receive is that then we are not all value, that we are not worthy of success, we're not lovable, people won't accept us for who we are. And so we should kind of stay silent, hidden, or kind of hide behind a persona to pretend to be somebody we are not. And so I think that was very much my journey as well because I grew up feeling like I was very different. I didn't really fit. My perspective was very different. And I learned all the one size fits all strategy. I learned all the things, the market of best practices, all of those things that I was taught that this is the way to become successful. And I realized that it didn't didn't work for me. And so the more I started thinking about it, the more I started, realizing that I cannot be the only person feeling this way, right? And so I struggled a lot in my early years. In my 20s, trying to kind of figure out like why things aren't working for me, just keeps like hitting against a brick wall. And so that really started my journey, was because when I came across human design and when I learned about the Akashic record, I was like, oh my god, it blew my mind, because I was like, what is this? And I want to learn everything about it, because it's what you mentioned. It was very empowering and freeing, because it gave me sort of like, or it allowed me, gave me permission to kind of go back to myself, to kind of illuminate areas where I was not being like honest with myself, when I was trying to be someone else, follow someone else's recipe, right? And sometimes we have to make our own recipes. Sometimes we have to come up with our own stuff, right? And so I would say like that really started my journey, was just because, it was just so many years of feeling like things are just not working out. But specifically, even when I was following that formula, that path, those steps, it never felt right. I felt like I was like living a lie. I was hiding aspect of myself, and it didn't feel good. So yeah, so I think that's a long, like long story to like how I started this. I cannot hear you anymore. I
Forgot
can't
I
hear you.
have it muted. Because I was like wondering if my background is actually going. So anyway, thank you so much for sharing, because for me, I got so many. Yeah, I can relate to that. I can relate to that. I can relate to that. So you're not alone. It's like, especially with the conforming, right? Especially like with school. Like
Right. Yeah.
it started with school, and then if the family is like stringent and stuff, I'm just happy that my family is not like very very strict. That's one thing that I'm happy about. But like conforming with school, and then if you're different, you just have to like, I became a wallflower just because I thought, like, you have that one instance in school sometimes that you got you got scolded, or you got like put down, and then that kind of like, yeah, okay, now I know how to react next time, which is to stay silent, just conform with whatever is working for everybody else, right? Thank you, because that's kind of like that. I bet, hello watcher, whoever's watching right now, hi, you're in for a treat, I hope you stay. So, or please say hi in the comment section. And yeah, so thank you for saying that.
I if you don't mind me
No.
interjecting, because as because what you mentioned about like afraid of speaking up, right? I think when it comes to, and then so if you think about it, it translates right into, well, it sort of impacts the way you show up in your business. So for years, we have been taught to kind of like regulate the way we speak, like you mentioned, like for fear of like being like criticized or judged when we were younger, that we shouldn't be ourselves, that we should be quiet, we shouldn't be too, I don't know, right, we shouldn't be too loud, right? And so when it comes to like many years later, when we are grown, right, and we try to start business, those things still play in the background whether we're conscious of it or not, right? So those are the kind of block where you want to say something but you feel like terrified. And then you remember that time when you were younger, when somebody said, like make fun of you for being different. And so I feel like, not just myself, but a lot of the clients I work with, that is what's going on in the background. That fear where they're like, I don't know where this fear is coming from. And then when we work backwards, they realize, oh, because my mother said this, my father said this, I was teased when I was younger. There are all these things that kind of protect us from
Mhm.
speaking out and for like really showing up and being ourselves. So thank
That's
you for
so true.
sharing.
Oh, welcome. Because I was like, okay, that happened. That happened. I knew that happened. So because okay, like I have this, I just want to share. I have this one exercise with my mentor, with his friend. Anyway, my point is we kind of like have where you look at who you were from before you get this conditioning. I'm
Yes,
learning the lingo of it.
yes, conditioning,
Conditioning,
yes,
the
yes,
conditioning. So I remember when I was younger, like really young, I'm a bossy one because I'm the firstborn in the family,
me
right?
too.
Especially,
Yeah,
yeah.
me, yeah,
So you're a bossy, but then when you come, like people will tell me, you don't seem bossy, you don't seem violent, you don't seem like, like you're just like bland or some kind of like that. Like so I was like, okay, so that happened. Something happened along the way that I lost that fire, the spirit of a kid, like
exactly. Exactly that. And so like part of my work is to go back and bring that, childlike before all the conditioning, to bring that out, because when we think about, our innocent self, right? When we were a little kid, that passion, who we are, right? I'm very different as a child when I was like 7 or 5 before the conditioning than I was, like, even just like in my early 30s, because I learned all these things. They're like, oh, you shouldn't be too assertive, or too passionate, too loud. I learned all these things. And so I ended up being, like what you said, just being quiet all the time. And when it came to like really sharing my ideas and being online, um, as your personal brand in your business, right? In our business, then I became really shy. I was like, all this fear, all this insecurity, all the things in the messages I receive. Like, oh my gosh, what if I'm too loud? What if I'm too assertive? What if I'm all of that? And all of that just keeps it blocks you, right? It limits you. And it's just like, yeah, I just think it can be really overwhelming because you're fighting against yourself half the time.
so true. This is getting good. I'm so happy. You know what? But before we kind of go down deep on the thing, please tell us. I mean, not all of my friends are actually familiar with human design. What is Akashic records? What are we talking about? Bringing the inner child out.
Yeah.
It's so fun, and now I kind of like know a little bit about it.
Yeah.
I can understand it. But please, tell us just a little bit. What is human design and what is Akashic records reading?
Yeah. Yes. And so human design is, to me, right? It's a roadmap to kind of live your life, to kind of understand who you are, your gifts, your lessons, your karma, your dharma, your purpose, and your passion. So to me, it really is a navigational system. Right. To kind of help you pilot or drive through this wonderful journey we call life. So I use human design as sort of like a tool for empowerment and to guide my clients in making important decisions in their life, their business, their career, relationships, all of that, because it provides it illuminates and provides insights meant to inspire you to create and implement strategies that align with who you are. So to me, human design is kind of like a roadmap to go home to who you are before all the conditioning, before all those beliefs, right? It is peeling back all the layers to like you, like before like that core essence, innocence, right? And it is on the technical side, it is based on astrology, I Ching, the chakra system, and Kabbalah and quantum physics. So it's a lot of different like modalities in one. And it basically provides sort of like a technical design because I see it as a blueprint, but also a manual to kind of teach you how to live your life authentically. And so it kind of helps you understand, what makes you so special, how you can function in the world, what is your natural inclination. And it also gives you a better understanding of like areas in your life where you are vulnerable to conditioning, areas in your life where you kind of need to like pay attention to. So one of the powers of human design is it's not just it's not only that it's empowering and liberating, but it sort of tells you is a whole new perspective where you're like, oh, there is no right or wrong. There is no good or bad. You know, a lot of things that we learn about ourselves where we're like, oh, that's a weakness. Oh, that's bad. It's basically saying, well, no, it's not bad. It's just a different way of showing up in the world. And then providing you the strategies how you can do that so that you don't feel like, oh, I have to be someone else. So that really is like human design. And human design really is sort of like I mentioned a roadmap to living your life in this lifetime. So if you are somebody who believes in like we have multiple lifetimes and our soul is more than this lifetime, that's when the Akashic records comes in. So the Akashic records takes like a broader view of alive, right? It's about our soul's journey and our soul memory. And so if you believe that we have multiple lifetimes, then you know the Akashic record is kind of like higher up there. You know, that's how I always see it. So the Akashic is a field of infinite possibilities. It holds the memories of our soul. So it is this energetic space where you can do all sorts of fun stuff, right? So if you believe in like past life, that is where we can go and kind of like retrieve memories of your past life loops or patterns, ancestral things that happen in your family, patterns, all of that. You know, inner child chakra healing is where we would do in the Akashic as well. Contracts that we may have taken on, like soul contracts we may have taken on prior to coming into this lifetime. So that's all the fun magical stuff that's kind of related to our soul, because our soul isn't just in this on earth right now, right, in this lifetime. It has many lifetimes before and will have many more, you know, from here. So it's yeah, it's basically here and then here, if that makes sense.
That's like, um, I remember when after Rick's talk, I did have an Akashic record session with you, and it was
Yeah,
so magical. It was my first time. I just like
yeah.
I really wanted to know. I don't even know what it is. Remember, I told you I didn't know what it is, but it's like different, and it makes so much sense. And thank you for that session anyway. It opened so much for me. So it's like so human design is for this lifetime a navigational map that we could actually tap into. And speaking of which, since we're wanting to know more about businesses, I would love to put on my life, but then this will become so long, I'm sure. I'll grill you with that. But with a business discussion, um, why is it important to intentionally create a business that feels aligned to one's unique being? And why not just follow what is trending and everyone that seems to be successful online? Why not just like model other people and just do it, even if it's like kind of, you know, not really speaks to you, but if you really want to become successful, why not just like do the trending stuff anyway, right?
Yeah, because you ultimately, you know, if you like, do everybody want to go on TikTok and dance? No. You know, do we, because you know what we know from like marketing, like business coaches, right, or like marketing best practices, right, is that you need to show up online all the time. You need to create content all the time. You need to be live, you know, doing live all the time, all of that stuff. And you and I both know that is a full-time job in and of itself, right? You know, it's like if you're doing all of that, then how are you going to do other parts of your business unless you yourself, you know, even if you're teaching social media marketing, if you're doing all the social media yourself, you don't have time for anything else, right? You can't even like teach your classes. And so the truth is, it is not really for everybody. There's so many strategies out there. There's so many different ways. Everyone's telling you different ways, right? So how do you really know which one truly aligns? Because you can't be like doing all of it all the time. And so I think that's where like human design really comes in, right? And then the Akashic records also really come in to kind of like help you unlearn and decondition to feel more comfortable following a strategy that really align with you. Because to me, right, the short answer is we are all unique beings. And because we all have unique experiences, we have different ways of processing information, we have different levels of energy. Some people can be online all the time, others just don't have that energy. They get burned out, right? And we have different beliefs and different motivation. So, why should our businesses and why should our strategies be any different? Right? So, shouldn't our business and our strategy kind of reflect who we are, kind of like our authenticity. And I feel like when people don't honor that, they don't recognize that, that's when the frustration sets in, when the anger, the disappointment, the bitterness, and that is when they feel like burnout or feel like, oh, like an imposter. Um, because yeah, not everyone is meant to like go online all the time. If you love it, good for you, but lots of people feel pressured then, they feel like, oh, I have to do it because that's how I can be successful, because my business coach told me that, or because I learned somewhere, reading some textbook or whatever, and then they force themselves and then they get bitter. Then you can sense that they're like, oh, that they're not really in it, they don't put their heart into it, then you don't want to end up buying from them. And then the whole cycle continues because they get more angry and frustrated and bitter. And then it just, the cycle, right? And so we don't want that, because ultimately we want, people start businesses for all sorts of reasons. But for a lot of us, we do it for freedom, right? Freedom to be who we are, freedom to do whatever we want, make our own hours, financial freedom, personal freedom, creative freedom, and so we want that. And I feel like that's the true motivation, and that's what inspires and drive people to have their own business. And then they learn that, oh, I have to do this and this, and then they just feel like, what's the point? Why do I? And I hear clients say that, and I hear people say that, where they're like, what's the point of even having my own business? I can't even, do the things I want. Or they get shamed. I have people who tell me this, that, you know, um, they learn that they need to be the one, they need to like send DMs. They need to be selling all the time. They need to send DMs to strangers, spamming them, right? That's one way to get more clients. And then they don't like it. They don't want to do it. And then they get shamed for like wanting something different. They're like, they receive all these messages, oh, you do not want it hard, you do not want it enough, you're not working hard enough. And so then they keep doing the same thing, but I hate it, because not all of us are meant to, or want to do that. And so I'm like, let's flip the script. Let's go back to who you are originally. How do you envision your business? How do you envision showing up in your business? And let's do that instead of feeling like, oh no, I should do all of that, because there's so many different ways that you can be successful and not just one. And I feel like, yeah, that it's time to start really going back to realizing and recognizing our kind of like our own uniqueness and who we are, and operating from there. Hope that makes sense.
No, no, it's good. It's like, yeah, because as you said, we're made differently, uniquely, and if you're gonna touch like technically, I'm a generator, you're a generator. If I remember it, so it's like connecting with human design. I was like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Some people,
yeah,
I love videos, and that's one thing I love. That's why I do it all the most of the time. That I feel this is the thing. I don't like. most people will say you have to have like 2 to 3 videos or 1 to 2 content every day, blah blah blah. But since meeting my mentor and hearing things from you guys, it's like, okay, I just want to create when I feel aligned to create, if I feel
Yes,
inspired to create, right?
yes, yes.
And
No, exactly. Yes. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, and then with the DMs, I know somebody who had his account last year or 2 years ago, I forgot, a block because of that mentality of teaching where you have to message so much people, and if you don't do that, you get shamed by the coaches and stuff. And
Yeah,
yeah, so literally we're just made differently. Well, he made his own framework that works. Actually, I with the DMs. I'm just like, because you touch on it, I
yes.
was one of the spammy ones before. Just because you were taught that,
No,
right?
yes,
You were
yes,
taught that,
exactly. Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Just like your clients
yeah,
too. You were taught that. And then
yeah,
I got burnout and don't want to slide in the DMs again. So
yeah.
until I find a framework that actually works for me because it creates real connection, real conversations, and then that becomes nice and easy.
Yes,
So
exactly. Nice and
see the
easy, and people can feel that ease from you. And so DMs sometimes work. I haven't met somebody where it actually worked, but I'm sure it works, which is why they're teaching it because it's the mentality. It's kind of like spam. Remember when people used to have those like I was gonna say phones, but it's spam phone calls, right? Yeah, and then you were like, when you had landlines back in the day. So,
actually I still
um,
receive those in my cell
I was
phone.
I was gonna say I also receive them on my cell phones, but you hate them, right? You hang out all the time. You're like, oh my god, stop annoying me. But that's the same way. But some people do the DMs really naturally and really well, and it works for them. And so
Mhm.
here's the thing that I think lots of people get caught up is it does work and it works for some people, but just because it worked for them doesn't mean it's gonna work for you.
Mhm.
And then the problem is if we are running after all these strategies and trends, right? Or this like secret 5-step formula or all of that, like formulaic, just because it worked for that person doesn't mean, it was going to work for you because the strategies were really created to help that person's energy, that person's personality. Some people are naturally charming, others are just like, kind of awkward, and so that maybe doesn't work for them so well, right? And so I like when you talked about being a generator because this world is made up of generators, right? We are the majority, and generators have all this energy to keep going and working, but there is a portion of the population who are not generators, and by living, they have been told that you got to work hard, you got to hustle all the time, you got to be doing all these things that generators have the magical energy to do. And then they just feel like really burnt out and exhausted. And then the worst thing I feel is that then they end up thinking it's their fault. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's like when, all the strategies that we have done, like if it doesn't work, all the things that we learn, people pay thousands and thousands of dollars to learn all these things, right? All this cookie cutter, one size fits all strategy, they do that. And then if it doesn't work out for them, who do they blame? A lot of times they blame themselves. They feel shameful, they feel stupid. And so, but I'm like, no, 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 no. It's not. The strategies themselves are fine. It just doesn't work for you because you are just wired differently. And that's okay. Let's find something that works for you. And so that's the thing, for me, because that's where the business communication comes in, right? That's where the marketing comes in because I have been in marketing for over a decade. And because I teach it now, I do learn a lot. Like I have to know the kind of basic foundations, the kind of like best practices. And so even when I teach it, I'm like, okay, you know this, but it doesn't always work for everybody. But I think like the benefit for me then is like there are all these strategies I can now look at your human design and be like, okay, you can pluck and play kind of thing. This one will probably work for you, not this one, but that's that's the whole merging the business part with the human design part. And then the Akashic comes in when you're like, oh, I don't feel very confident. Oh, there's a block. Oh, they're limiting beliefs. Now let's go in and let's clear it. So the Akashic is like the mindset thing, it's the kind of energetically clearing so that you feel like you're more confident. It helps you feel more confident to take the next step. So yeah, there's like a there's a method in this madness. Or there's a
I'm
method in my madness.
Well, I love your madness. I mean, I love your mentor's madness. I love your madness, and that's why I feel like I gravitate to you guys, right? Oh yeah, we have Bianca. She's saying this sounds so much like me and what I'm feeling. Bianca, tell us which part.
Yes,
We
yes,
wanted to, since you're here, which part? Thank you for jumping in with us. And my kid is here with me, sitting down. Like, oh, I'm making,
have
oh,
your kid join us.
now nah, she'll steal the show. Hey, lower that
Oh,
down. Lower that down. Anyway, yeah, sometimes she sits down quiet, but now she has my phone. Anyway,
she can come join us. Like there's a party.
you know what? I'm trying my best now that I'm learning this stuff, the conditioning and stuff and everything. I'm trying my best to not have these kids lose their innocence and their real core. But I know outside some stuff will happen and stuff, but I will do my best to keep
Yeah.
them, you know. But I'm also a mom who gets frustrated, who gets overwhelmed, and who gets short tempered. And so we just roll, right?
Yes, no, and I think that's the best you can do for your kid, and I think it's so wonderful that, and I feel like that's like a lot of us, right? We are here to kind of break the patterns and the cycles of our parents and the generation before, teaching us, certain things, telling us certain beliefs, but we're here to kind of break all of that. And then we're passing it down to our children, right? That it's okay to be who you are. It's perfectly fine, and we're honoring that and recognizing that, and we can never be perfect, and that's
Yeah.
okay because it's their lesson they have to learn too. Like that's something that they, we talk about the soul came here to learn. This is their soul contract, right? They are here to do that, and it's okay. Like I just think it's fabulous that you're holding space for them to do it. That is just so amazing.
I'm trying because I'm naturally short tempered. People don't believe it, but I'm really short tempered. I try to have patience, but man, it's anyway. Oh, Bianca said, always having to create content and feeling like I'm not showing up in my business, and doing content 3 times a day can be frustrating. Oh my gosh, Bianca. Yeah, I
Yes.
understand that.
Yes. And so the thing about like human design, it's like knowing your design, right? It's almost like a permission slip to be like, you don't have to do that. That's okay. That's a better way. So I'm going to give you a great example. Actually, it's a real life example to happen to me. So, generators are a lot of people believe like, that we should initiate conversations, that we should be out there, be the ones starting all these things, right? But according to human design, generators are here to really respond to the things that's happening around us, to respond to the problems and the challenges and the solutions. We're not always here to just be like, okay, let's, like lead by our ego and start things, that we just to satisfy our own personal ego. And so for a long time, I was like, I understand why no one's like responding to my stuff. I don't get it. And then I decided, you know what? After I knew this human design, I'm like, I'm going to shift my strategy. So I now go to Facebook groups, and I see people, say I need help with this, and that, and I respond to that. Or I see what's happening, like for instance, for a time being, everybody hated unsolicited DMs. People hated it, talking about it all the time. And so I decided to respond to that in my own post. And I wrote a post about it. And lo and behold, I'm like, not kidding you. I had all these strangers started messaging me. They became leads. They became like clients. They started messaging me and said, oh, what you said really lit me up. I really resonated with that. And I was like, oh. Okay, I didn't even know you were watching and reading. They are. Even if they're not clicking and liking, they are. Because I have people messaging me saying that, oh, that one post that you wrote. And I was like, who are you? Um, but then they remember that. So that's the thing about responding versus like, oh, I'm just going to, I'm going to decide today I'm going to talk about, I don't know, like my morning. I'm not really responding to anything. So manifestors can do that, and so like they can be the one creating because they're initiating all the time, and that's fine for them. um so it's kind of like understanding, your human design, and your energy is only one part of it. There were so many different parts of your whole design that kind of help you with a strategy that is really nuanced and is really like feels good for you. But when I started sharing this, I have friends who are generators were like, oh my goodness, I just realized that too. That's how I've been making all my sales. It's when I'm responding to other people. Then they're coming into my DMs and they're buying my stuff. And I was like, oh. And so a bunch of us, not just one generator, but other generators, in separate situations when we're talking, I was like, man, there really is something to this. So it's just, yeah.
You know what? You just made me realize that's so funny because my pin post, I did that as a response to the same topic. People hate the DMs, and I did my pin post right now is because of those complaints about DMs. I believe I believe that cold DMs is dead. Cold outreach is dead, and there's steps you have to take before you actually slide on somebody's DMs. But that's
Yes.
another topic,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So anyway, like I mean, we hate some people hate calls, right? But some people could actually sell on the DMs. But there's like some steps before not just going in. So of course, until now, I still receive like one pitch DMs, the whole DMs, or one pitch DMs, right? Okay. Anyway, my point is what you have just said. Because of that one pin post, I've sold my mentor's book. Like
Right?
I'm
Because
getting
you're
sales because of
responding.
Speak,
Yes, because you
responding to those posts.
exactly. And because, I used to not have a lot of like, views or likes on my posts. And then when I changed my strategy and responded to that thing because I saw everyone talking about DMs, I suddenly had like people liking me, they're sort of following me, and they're like, it resonated with me. I hate all these DMs. And I was like, oh, and I started creating content related to that, bringing more people. And so that's the generator, right? Generators are meant to do that. And if you're like, oh, but business coaches or what we learn in business textbooks don't really account for that. They're just telling you, well, the best practice is just to create whatever, right? Create whatever you think or whatever you want. It works for some people, but not always. And so then
Yeah.
it goes back to the, oh, if it doesn't work for me, there must be something wrong with me. So like Bianca, when she's talking about, doing content 3 times a day, gets really frustrating. You don't have to do content 3 times a day, like maybe you are, and I don't know your energy type, maybe you're a projector. Projectors aren't meant to like be working all the time. They get burned out so quickly. But I have a lot of projector clients, and that is the one thing I hear from them all the time. They're like, I feel really guilty taking a break. I feel like, they always say that, I feel like I should be working all the time, or that, I should be posting all the time. And I'm like, no, 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 you don't have to do that. And then we're like, let's go into your Akashic record and let's clear that and heal that. Why do you feel like it? Let's clear that and heal it. So that's why they work very well together, the Akashic and the human design. Yeah, see? Oh my God, that's me. So maybe you are a projector, and maybe that's why. And even if you're a generator, you're not meant to do things that doesn't like you up. You have all this energy. It's better served doing something that lights you up, and you're not meant to be following someone else's like rules or what they're telling you to do. That's a misconception, of generators. Like, yeah. And so don't do that. It's just, you don't. And when you get frustrated and get burnout, like your clients see that, you feel it. You're like, just take a break. I give you permission, Bianca, to take a break when you feel like to, when you feel you need to honor that.
That's amazing. I'm so happy you're here, Bianca. I don't know. Do you know your human design chart? That is amazing to actually just like kind of
Oh, you're frozen. Uh-oh. Are you frozen or is it me? I don't know. I can't tell. Hey, hello? Hey. Are we still live? I don't know. It still says we're live right now and it's still counting down. Oh no, should I? I don't know if we're still live. It's hilarious. No, you're good. You're good. So your connection is down? Oh no. Oh, okay. And so I don't know if this is still live at all because I don't have like information to tell. So